Hey Mini enthusiasts, how you doing? So welcome back, another week's gone by, and again another week of fantastic weather. It's almost getting bored of saying that now, but I'm not certainly not gonna moan about it. It's absolutely brilliant. And this week even better, England won a penalty shootout and made it through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, which I never thought I'd see that happening for a very long time, but it has. Really pleased about that. Anyway, this vlog is not about football, it's about cars. So in this week's update, I finish off the headwork on PL. So it's all done, road tested and ready to do car shows again. And while we're talking about car shows, there's a car show coming up this Sunday, 8th of July. It's at Ada Recreation Ground in Shoreham-by-Sea, which, if you don't know the area, it's a few miles west of Brighton. It's presented by Brighton Mini Club, which I'm a member of. We're only a small group, around about 30 of us, and we put on this annual car show, Minis on the Wreck, and it's for Chestnut Tree Hospice for charity. Been doing it more than 10 years now, raised something like £35,000. And it's a great little car show. So if you want to come down, there's a show and shine, there's a weird object in the boot, we usually do a tug of war, there's trade stands there. It's a classic car show open to all classics, so you see some classic Fords, some classic Rovers, well, pretty much anything there, to be honest. So it's quite interesting as well. And again, the weather's meant to be fantastic Sunday, so if you fancy a day out, please come down. Please help give a bit to charity. So it's free to get in, but we do take donations for the charity, and I'll be there in 2 cars for once. So I'll be driving down PL and my father-in-law will be driving Vinny down there, so it'd be good to have both cars at the same show. So anyway, enough about me waffling on, let's get into the video. Hope you have a great week, guys. Thank you for watching. And next up we have the locating rings for the inlet manifold. Just a quick point here, guys. So I am adjusting the tappets with a wider gap this time. So seems a bit like deja vu, because it was only a few weeks ago I was doing this, and I set them to 15 thousandths of an inch, which is probably at the lower range of what you set them at with roller tip rockers. If you've got a high performance cam, then it's 18 thousand. I've even seen 20 thousandths of an inch mentioned. So we need to reset them, because yes, they were set perfectly at 15 thousandths of an inch, but we've skimmed off 3 thousandths of an inch off the cylinder head. So that drops the head down a little bit lower. The rockers are lower relative to the camshaft and push rods. So we'll actually lose 3 thousandths of an inch gap on the tappets. So if we measured them, they're probably around about 12 thousandths of an inch now, because we skimmed a bit off the head. So I'm setting them to 18 thousandths of an inch now, and I'll probably come back and I'll do them again in a couple of weeks time, I should think, after I've run it for a little bit. Maybe that's something to watch out for if you ever adjust the tappets using that alternator pulley like I have done. When you're pulling it down that way towards the tensioner, you put slack on the belt this side, and I just noticed that the belt had come off the pulley one groove. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. hold of the old oil that had come out the engine. It had probably only done 400 miles, maybe a little bit more than that. But I'm going to replace it anyway, and the main reason for that is because when I smell the oil, it stinks. It smells burnt. It might just be me overreacting, but it just doesn't smell quite right. It's still nice and clean, but I don't think I'll risk it. Primarily because obviously the cooling system, is its primary function is to keep the engine cool, and also has a corrosion inhibitor in it to stop the internals of the engine corroding. And with oil, obviously its primary function is keeping the engine lubricated, but its secondary function is cooling the engine as well. So if ever you have a problem with a cooling system, or you get any overheating, and PL didn't overheat on the gauge, but I'm sure it had been running hotter than it normally would do. When the coolant can't cope, it then comes down to the oil to keep the engine cool. And the oil does that as a natural function, so keeping the pistons cool and that sort of thing. Obviously there's not a water jackets, you know, surrounding the pistons or anything like that. It relies on the oil to take the heat away from the pistons and cool it with the rest of the engine oil. So that's why you have oil coolers. So anyway, less of the waffling on. I think I'm going to change the oil purely because I think the engine's been running hotter than it should do, and I think it might have degraded the oil a little bit. But what I'm going to do with the old oil, I'm just going to put a litre down into the engine. I've got the sump plug off on the bottom. I'm just going to allow that to run through the engine. So if there's any swarf or anything like that, anything I've missed, you know, I've blown through the oil ways, but if there's any dirt or crap just from where I've had the head off doing stuff, hopefully this will just flush it out the bottom. Right then guys, moment of truth. Let's start it up, or try to start it up anyway. So this is genuinely the first time I'm going to turn the key. Should start. I think I've got everything back on. The only thing we might have is maybe a flat battery. So we just get it started, make sure it runs, and then I'll get it out the workshop and bleed the cooling system. The oil, we've started with 4.5 litres in there. It's very, very hard to see on the dipstick when the oil's fresh and clean. What's he doing here? What's he doing here? Okay, that was a test. No, I forgot to connect the coil up. There we go, second time lucky. There we go, no dramas. Quite pleased with that, didn't take much to start. Connecting the coil helps. You notice it sounded quite rattly, and I think that's, I've got, like I say, I've got those Tappets set to 18 thou at the moment, which is quite big. But I think for the first few 100 miles I'll run it like that, because you know I've lapped in those valves, I've cleaned it all up. What I don't want to do is inadvertently over adjust the Tappets and ended up coking up some of those valve seats again. So I'll probably run it for a few 100 miles a little bit rattly, and then maybe bring it back down to 15 thou. Yeah, right, so next job, let's just get it pushed outside. I can get it bled up properly then.